Hi there, Samuel Larsen here. I wanted to cover hiring a growth agency for your e-commerce store. I wanted to really make this video because there's so many blog posts and articles by people who have never either worked on an agency or never hired an agency. They're just bloggers putting out their uneducated opinions. So let's set this down as somebody who has been in the game for years and not just somebody who's writing about blog posting for clicks. So these are my findings and my suggestions based on my 5 years of experience running 2 agencies. So first of all, I want to be real. Choosing an agency over another can be a damn minefield. Like choosing in general is very difficult because they all appear to be quite same. There's not that many big differentiating factors. If you're thinking of, let's say, a PPC or a SEO agency, their pitch will most likely be very similar. And the same is pretty much the case with growth agencies as well, because the methods are more or less the same. The methods are pretty standard, and the focus areas can be a little bit different. But either way, it's not something that I envy you for having to choose. So, many times they use buzzwords like growth hacking, scientific method, data-driven, and those can be something that for the first-time buyer might sound good, but they are oftentimes just buzzwords. So be careful about that. But most of all, I'm going to cover e-commerce growth agencies specifically because there has been such a coming out of these kind of different agencies. And a growth agency's goal, I should clarify, is to simply help you grow and scale. That's the only purpose. So they partner up with your resources or do it all by themselves to help you out to reach those objectives that you have hopefully in the beginning agreed upon. And in general, in e-commerce and in business in general, the same kind of formulas work across industries, across stores. And there are definite benefits from finding this out and then using them across the entire client spectrum. So a good agency will be able to give you fresh ideas and ideas that have already been tested with other people and bring those over to you, help you implement them and grow from that. So the idea in general is multiplying the methods and findings across the clients and seeing which ones work for you because they all won't, and then saving you the research time and giving you access to that experience. So let's crack into it. Should you hire a growth agency? Now, that's gonna depend on multitude of factors, but most generally the optimal time for hiring a growth agency is when your growth is a little bit stuck. You have already proven your business model that there is a demand for this at this price point. The general building blocks are in place, so you are ready for that growth and you do have the budget to invest into an agency. So that's when you can start looking into it, start vetting in different agencies and seeing what are your options. In general, there's 3 models. So there's the full in-house model that you go and do before you hire a growth agency. Then on the other extreme, there would be the full agency model. So you're just running your backend basically, and the agency is running your PPC, your email, everything for you, even your website. And most of the engagements fall somewhere in between these 2 extremes. So there's the hybrid model, which means that the growth agency does these things with your team. And that's the most common one, and the world is moving towards this hybrid model where the agency is having more of a consultative role. So they're helping bring their expertise and your in-house team is the implementing part. So first of all, I would say if you're thinking of hiring a growth agency, don't just hire because you want to hire. You need to have clear objectives. You need to have clear ways to measure those objectives. And then definitely internally, you need to know what is the value of reaching those objectives. So if you are hiring an agency and you have these clear objectives, clear measurables, you know the value, then you can start estimating the return on this ad spend or return on this investment. So that is a key thing for assessing this. So you're not going to get to those measurables 100% of the time. So what you could do is maybe think of 3 scenarios, like a best case scenario, reaching the goal, middle case scenario, getting 50%, and third scenario would be a complete failure, and assigning percentage of those. Then, second of all, you absolutely need to know what you want the agency to do. So if you think, okay, our internal resources are really strong at PPC, then you wouldn't really look for an agency that is really strong at PPC. You're already good at that, so there's no or very little added value there. So just like you would be looking for a hire in terms of personality and what the company needs, you would look for those skills. So look for the opposite of what you are currently doing well. And you can look into it like sort of similar to a job post. So you have a list of things that you're looking for in this agency. And from there, you form that list and put a little bit of an idea of what is important, what isn't. And from there, you're already on a pretty good position to hiring the right one, at least skill sets wise. Then you want to have, again, measurables, values, but also think of key results. So we want to have a CRO agency, for example. What would be the key results for that CRO agencies to achieve in this timeline? And from there, you can start to define your budget. So the budget is something that you need to be comfortable, of course, with, but also something that if the budget is too small, then you can't get the agents that you're looking for, most likely. And this is in general pretty expensive because you need to have quality talent doing your optimization and your growth hacking. So it can be expensive to hire a good agency, but if done well, it can be great. But at the same time, it's a risk every time that the agency is not the perfect fit for you, and maybe also you're not the perfect fit for an agency, so then they don't see any long-term potential in you, and then would focus less on you. So the third thing is like, okay, you have this idea now that okay, we're looking for these skill sets, and we have this sort of measurables value that we are assigning it. Then start forming an initial list of agencies. See how they are, how they can help you in achieving those objectives. See if there's a good personal fit. And from there, you can get a hunch that what that agency would be like to work with. And then you can focus also more on those capabilities that the agency is strong at. So that is a very important process. I would not talk to 10 different agencies because you're most likely just wasting your time. If you wet that list down to 3 or 4 and have them, you can be completely transparent about this as well. We have invited these agencies to pitch us, this is our budget, and then they also know what they're expecting. So they will be able to present you with a team already, and okay, if you come work with us, like this is how it would go. Very exact based on your thorough brief. They also want to see that commitment from you, so that you are serious about hiring an agency. And that means that they can be confident about investing those hours into pitching you. Because if they are just building a complicated presentation, they want to make sure that they're not wasting their money and time. Now, this is a little bit of a dance. Both know that they are entering a partnership. So both parties are vetting the other party to see if they want to do business with those terms. So both have a sort of incentive to be a little bit dishonest about the exact project. Like the agency has an incentive to be a little bit dishonest about their qualifications and their experience. And you also might want to show a little bit more interest than you actually are, a little bit more commitment. So be aware of this, and that will help you also going forward. Then you don't want to be thinking of yourself as this person who's just holding cash as a carrot. The horses will come and attack that. It's agencies, if they're quality, they're also selecting and looking to find a good fit with you. So they don't want to waste their time with tire kickers or unqualified people, but want to focus on those leads that are actually the most quality. Now, I wanted to get a little bit of a list from there, okay, because right now you have your short list of agencies, but what are actually important things on this final phase to see which one would be the final winner? I'm gonna skip the obvious things like budget and agreeing on the objectives and key results, because we already covered that a little bit. But I would say there's 4 different things that are very important when choosing an agency. And they are people, experience, proof, and methods. So let's dive into those 4. People. Obviously, this is a team sport. So you're looking for people that you can communicate well with and that are good fit for your culture. So as you are entering into a partnership, you wouldn't take a business partner that you don't get along with. If it's every time it's a fight, it's not gonna work. So the communication is very important. It's good that they fit into your culture, because that means that they will be able to start running from day one. Then second, I'd say domain expertise. So people is a multiplier of all these things. If that part doesn't work, then this is irrelevant. It doesn't matter how good the domain expertise is, because you won't find the full benefits of that domain expertise. So this is the actual part that you're hiring them for. And this is oftentimes it's multiple things, but it could be, for example, conversion optimization, email marketing, Instagram influencing. Those could be like a stack of that. So you want to vet that agency on those domain expertise areas to make sure that they are specifically expertised in these areas. Then proof. Proof is the pudding that puts it together. So you want to make sure that there is proof beyond that, domain expertise, so that there's some kind of third-party proof that this domain expertise is real. Because anybody can come and front with a lot of domain expertise, but where is the proof? So here you want to look into referrals. Are actual business owners saying that this is a good agency? Do they back up the results with case studies, videos, etc. in some form of proof that is difficult to fake? Reviews. Reviews are junior to referrals, but still can help. With reviews, keep in mind that bad reviews are the norm. most people don't care about giving good reviews. So in general, you can form a pretty good idea of the good reviews. Also, reviews can be faked, and also reviews can be given by competitors, even if they are like, if the market is a little bit, how we say, brutish. Then the third one is case studies. Have they done this for similar companies in the past? Not necessarily in your exact industry, but they have gone through a similar battle and came off victorious. Then you just look for this kind of proof of any kind to make sure that the core team that you'll be working with will be quality. It doesn't necessarily matter if there is like awards that the agency has got with a different team if you are going to be handed to a bunch of interns. So be careful about that. What is the end theme and what is their proof of domain expertise and results? Then the fourth one is the approach. So if they don't have a process in place, or they cannot explain it in an understandable way, then there's a good chance that they simply don't know what they're doing. So you'll get there day one, week one, month one, and everything's kind of random. Like, okay, things are happening, some things are falling apart. There's not necessarily like clear accountability. Strategy sounds a little bit loose. So you want to have that timeline, okay? What will you do in month one, month two, month three? And how is it relevant to these key results, objectives, and measurables? Then, those are the four most important things. There's a lot of debatable things also that could be important and you could consider. Depends a little bit of exactly where you are also as well. But first of all that comes to mind in terms of debatable things is size. So there's both good and bad things about being both big and small. So if you hire a very big agency and you're a small player in their pool, you're not going to get their best people. They might tell that the quality is the same, and no matter our methods work, no matter who does it, but it's questionable. So if you have a very big agency, you'll always be the account that is not as important, or even is the least important account that they have. Most likely you'll also pay a little bit more. So those are the drawbacks of being with a big agency. Now, drawbacks of choosing a small agency is obviously you're more reliant on individual people. So you'll have cases where somebody might get sick for a week, and if it's a 4-person agency, then 25% of their workforce will be gone, and that's going to most likely affect that week negatively. So that's just one example. Then another example is like holidays, of course. Also, it's unlikely that the small agency would have such a wide variety of expertise and such honed-in methods for delivering that expertise. You'll get a little bit more of a personal touch, but at the same time there are some drawbacks there. Then second, reviews, as we mentioned, they're great, easy to fake. Really good reviews are difficult to get. Bad reviews are norm. So here, be wary. Don't trust reviews all that much. Third one is an interesting one. Location. So we live in a global world, but many agencies are still local. If you go with a local agency, it's most likely that their focus is quite a bit on the local market. So they will do a wide variety of industries. Maybe they'll do e-commerce, lead generation, SaaS, all of that, like that they can find from the area. And their thing is that they're just local. With the global approach, You lose a little bit of that communication edge, that sparring and working with your team well aspect, but you'll have an opportunity to work with the best talent from very specified agencies. So let's say you want to do e-commerce CRO and you want to look for global agencies. There's a lot of options. If you're local and you want to find this from your smaller town, it would be very difficult to get access to that level of talent. So depends a little bit. For big cities, local can be a good idea. For cost saving, global can be a good idea. For working with remote teams, obviously global doesn't really make a difference, but something that you need to make a value judgment on. Then the fourth thing I'd say is awards. So awards can be a good indication of how good the agencies are, but awards are always a result of a team, not really a company. So keep in mind that the past performance here is not necessarily a guarantee that the same results will happen for you as well. So teams are different, the approaches are different, the situations are always a little bit different. So those are the general things that are debatable. Now there's a few things that people in general think that are important, but it might be they are not super important. So I would say industry experience on that specific vertical is one of those. So some clients, for example, have very specific niches. Let's take an example of an e-commerce store selling person rugs. This might be important to know the niche a little bit if you're a management consultant. But here we're looking to grow a company with pretty similar methods. So if you have experience of, let's say, rug or clothing industry even, with similar price points, that can be a sufficient enough expertise, I'd say. Here you want to look for similar companies, but more of a companies dealing with similar challenges, and ask how the agency overcame those challenges instead of just looking for somebody who has worked on that specific industry. So in general, specific industry doesn't matter. The underlying principles are still the same. So the company that you're working with needs to understand your business. So if they understand B2C e-commerce on your price range, they probably understand your business, even if they haven't worked on that specific industry. Then a few other things I'd say: formal qualifications like university degrees or certifications. They don't matter that much anymore. They are very basic oftentimes, and you're looking for specific expertise in this domain area. So you can just skip those. Don't matter. So wow, that's it. I will have the summary of all the criteria in the description below. But that's how I would go about choosing an e-commerce growth agency or any growth agency really online. So that's that. Make sure to subscribe so you won't miss any more videos. And also, if you have any questions regarding this, just comment down below. And there's also a link in the description for my e-commerce growth agency, so you can take a look there. I'll practice what I preach, and believe I'm also very good at these metrics that we discussed. But that's all. Have a good one, and see you in the next video. Thanks.